Hello, this is Cynthia at Mountain Accents, and today I'm going to bring you a review of this jean jacket that I am wearing. It is a pattern by Mimi G Style, Simplicity S8845. This is the pattern, and on the cover is Mimi G and her husband Norris. And I like both of her white jean jacket and his blue denim. So this is a unisex pattern, and it comes in sizes bust measurements from 30 inches to 48 inches, waist of 26 inches to 44 inches, hip of 32 inches to 49 inches. I made a straight size large. That is the sizes is equivalent to extra small to extra large. I made the large, and it takes for a 60-inch wide fabric a little over 2 yards of fabric, which this denim that I used for this pattern is a stretch denim that I purchased from Andrea at Beyond the Pink Door online fabric shop in Ireland, and it is a mid-weight denim, and I purchased, I think, 2 meters is what I used, and I did have some left over. So yeah, you can get this jacket out of about 2 meters or slightly over 2 yards of fabric. There is quite a few pattern pieces involved in this pattern, and so I made this what I call a slow project. And as I'm a beginner sewist, and I'm more confident than I used to be, so maybe a confident beginner. This pattern consists of 20 pattern pieces, and I have to say to date that is this is the first pattern that I have made that has consisted of that many pattern pieces. I cut this out back in November, and I started working on it then in December. And what I did is, because since it is a unisex pattern, I thought, well, I someday might want to make it for my husband or son, or if I want to make a different size, that I would trace the pattern pieces that I needed to trace, and then the pattern pieces that was just for or that was uniform across all sizes. For instance, pattern piece number 6 is a piece that is for all size brackets, so I just cut it straight from the pattern sheet. Then if it was a multi-size pattern piece, I traced it. Then there were a few pieces that were maybe more than one size, or like if it was a pattern piece, it was, I can't remember now which pieces. There were some that was just like, cut this pattern piece for the small, cut this one for the medium, cut this one for the large, and I cut those. So I had a mixture, about half traced out, half cut. There are 3 sheets of instructions for the pattern, typical of your big 4 pattern. And I'd have to say, if I went just by reading the directions, then I would have had more difficulty in some areas. However, this particular pattern, on the pattern, you'll see it says Sew Along with Mimi G, and I actually followed a sew along that Norris, her husband, filmed, and I skim the directions, and occasionally I would stop and read like a more thorough step-by-step. And then I also watched his sew along video tutorial, and I found that the combination was very helpful. And I think both the written instruction and the sew along together was the best. I don't think it would have been as, I would have had more difficulty if I just went by the written directions, and then I also would have had a little bit of trouble with a couple of things if I had went strictly by the sew along version. And have to say that I am very happy with the way it turned out. You have the option, and I will show you in more detail when I take it off, of how to finish your seams. I started off trying to do a flat filled seam. That is one of the recommended seams. However, with this particular stretch denim, when I was trying to do my flat filled seam, it was fraying so bad that it was looking messier. And so I opted to, let me just go ahead and I will show you. Well, I'll show you in a moment, but I opted to overlock my seams because I thought that would give better protection against the fraying. Because I was afraid even if I stitched it and tried to do a flat filled seam with the way it was fraying, that it might not be as strong of a seam as it is with the overlocking. And top stitching, I actually prefer the look for myself personally of not having visible top stitching. Now I like it on other people, and at some point in time in the future I may want to do that for myself, but on this particular version I just use the same thread. I purchased top stitching thread, but I actually ended up just using my all-purpose Gooderman thread and used it for top stitching as well as for the other. And they recommend doing 2 rows of top stitching, and on the majority of my seams I opted just to do 1 row of top stitching. Well, you iron your seam over, like with the overlocking, I ironed it to the recommended side where it said to iron to the back or iron to the front, and I stitched it down, and it worked. Now on this pocket detail, I did choose to double top stitch that particular thing just because I felt like it would give it more support if I opted to put anything in it. I don't know that I would put anything in it, but if I did, it just gives it a little bit more support. And since the seams don't stand out, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't look wonky or funny or anything. And also, when I was putting my buttons on to finish this up, I had purchased these Kylie Machine hardware jean jacket kit, which has 15 buttons. And this pattern cost for 14, but I had used a couple of the buttons out of this packet for a pair of dungarees that I made, so it left me with only 13. So I opted to leave 2 buttons off, and I'll show you that now. So you have a tab here, and you would actually have another button here on each side, and I opted to leave those 2 buttons off because they wouldn't be functional for me. They would be there just for looks, and since I didn't have 14, I opted I'd just go with 12, and I'm very happy with that. And so I'm going to take the jacket off, and I'm going to step back and show you some more full-length pictures. And I guess I should tell you, I'm wearing this with a Friday Pattern Company Wilder gown that I made with some viscose that I got from a Think Pink subscription box. And I paired it with a pair of snag tights and a pair of little brown half boots. And I'm I like the way this outfit turned out. So let me move my chair all the way, and I'm going to step back and show you some pictures. This is the jacket. Now the sleeves are a little long, and it looks like in Mimi G's cover photo that she might have hers turned back, and I may opt to wear mine flip back, but I haven't tried that yet. So I am going to turn the camera and see if I can get a better picture of the full effect before I take it off and talk to you a little bit more about the construction. I don't know if any of those pictures of me standing turned out. If it doesn't, I will insert some photos. I just, it was too noisy inside, and it's a little breezy outside, so it may be even noisy out here. But also getting in the right spot where the sun's not in my eyes, and getting the right distance was a little tricky. So I will insert photos if. So you start off by constructing your front pieces here, and doing this pocket before you sew on the yoke. And none of that really intimidated me. It was easy to follow the written instructions and the sewalong. Now, I did get a little terrified when I was thinking about doing the welt pockets, but I actually think that my welt pockets turned out very well. I did watch Norris's section of the video that was on the welt pocket a couple of times before I attempted it, and I also watched Professor Pincushion's YouTube video on welt pockets. Now, the way she did a welt pocket is different from the way he did it, but at the same time it helped me visualize how the welt pocket construction goes together, and so it made it easier when I watched his video section again on the welt pocket. It made more sense and I had no trouble with it, and I'm very happy with the way it turned out. They're really nice it's very nice pocket. I'm having trouble getting okay, so it's turned out, the pocket turned out very nice. It's deep, and I actually used some leftover from this dress, this fabric, to line the inside of my welt pocket. And as you can see on the inside, I told you I used overlocking. I serged the seams, and then I just top stitch each of them down, and it does come with a little tab for hanging, and it has button cuff, and it has these tabs at the bottom, and I imagine that they are mostly for looks, but they could cinch in your waist a little bit if you wanted it. If you had the other button there and you wanted to cinch it in, it would create a little bit of a gathering in effect. But all in all, I think that even if you are a beginner, if you have made a shirt before, if you have made buttonholes before, if you have attached a collar, then you should be able to put this garment together. And like I said, it was a slow project for me. I'm actually going to put my jacket back on. It's a little chilly out here. So let me put this back on. Okay. So, where was I at? I took this project slow. I started in December, and then in January, when the Northern Soul Sisters said they were going to sew jackets and challenged other people in the sewing community to sew a jacket with them and post it on Instagram under the hashtag Sew Jackets with NSS. I decided, well, I would try to finish this jacket to post with that, and their goal was to finish it by the end of January or the middle of February, and today is February 19th, and I actually finished hammering on the buttons just this morning so that I could wear this with this dress to church. Yeah, so it when I thought of the project as a whole, I was intimidated by it, but when I broke it down by parts and thought I want to focus on just the collar today, I'm just going to focus on the sleeves today, or I'm just going to focus on attaching the cuff, the arm cuff. And when I broke it down in small increments like that, it made it easier for me to wrap my mind around each part. But now I'll tell you another thing that I should have thought about more thoroughly is the interfacing. And if that is mentioned in the written instruction, I somehow skipped over the part about the interfacing. But because this is a stretched denim, I happened to think, and I don't remember where I heard it at, someone talking about for collars that sometimes they use like a knit interfacing to help ease it in better. And I thought, well, this is a stretched denim. It's likely going to stretch, that I don't want to use just a woven interfacing. So I used a knit interfacing on my collar, and boy, it made it so much easier to sew that collar together and get it to line up where it should. And what did I do when I came to these cuffs? I used woven interfacing, and they didn't want to stretch out and meet, and I didn't want to cut out 2 more cuffs and start over. So what I opted to do, and I think I saw Norris do this in his sew along video, is that when he was easing in his collar on his particular fabric, he put in a few little snips on one of the pieces to help get it to stretch and meet and line up, and so, you know, flat, more flat. And so that's what I did with this cuff, is I put in a few little snips along the interface piece so that I could get it to stretch enough to meet the sleeve head here, or the sleeve part that attaches. And when I interfaced as I went, so I didn't do them all at one time. So when I got to the hem band, I remembered to pull out my knit interfacing and use it, and I didn't have a long enough piece, so I actually pieced it together. But boy, I'm glad I did, because it went in like a dream. It just fell into place, and I had no trouble at all getting it to line up where it should. And then with the little tabs, I just went ahead and used woven interfacing for them, because it didn't really matter those, because you just stitch in a little up and a little triangle and then back down, and then turn it, and so I wasn't worried about it shifting or anything on me. I give this 2 thumbs up. It's a great pattern. If you're interested in making a jacket, this is good money, good value for money, because you're not only getting a pattern for yourself. If you have a man in your life, you've got a pattern for him. And I have a husband and a son, and I don't know if my husband has a jean jacket from back in the 60s, 70s, probably 70s. He's had a very long time. It might be from the 80s. But yeah, if I decide to make one for my son someday, I have the pattern, or if I decide to make another one for myself, I have the pattern. But it's great value for money. I highly recommend this pattern, and I look forward to trying another Mimi G pattern in the future. I hope you're having a great day. I'll talk to you later.